Jeremy Roloff and his wife Audrey. Audrey and Jeremy Roloff officially divorced today. And finally, Jeremy Roloff is going to marry his secret girlfriend. Jeremy Roloff revealed her second wife, Audrey Roloff, sad and carrying. It's a very heartbroken news. I will explain everything. They built an empire on the promise of a covenant marriage, a love story meant to defy the 50% divorce rate. But what if the foundation of this idyllic world was built on a carefully constructed narrative? What if the smiles hid a different story? A story of secrets, heartbreak, and a life lived in the shadows of public expectation. Today, the facade has crumbled. The news that has been whispered in hushed tones is now a devastating reality. Jeremy and Audrey Roloff are officially divorced, and in a stunning turn of events, Jeremy Roloff is set to marry his secret girlfriend. This is the story of how the beating 50% couple became a statistic. This is the story of the secret that tore them apart. And this is the story of the woman who has been waiting in the wings. This is the real story of Jeremy and Audrey Roloff, a story you were never meant to see. To understand the end, we must go back to the beginning. Jeremy Roloff, the adventurous son from TLC's hit show Little People, Big World, and Audrey Body, the vibrant, red-headed farmer's daughter, seemed like a match made in heaven. Their love story, as they told it, was one of intentional pursuit, of letters exchanged, and a shared, deep-rooted Christian faith. Their wedding, a rustic chic affair on Roloff Farms in September 2014, was a public spectacle. Millions watched as they exchanged vows, promising a lifetime of covenant marriage. This wasn't just a union of two people, it was the birth of a brand. Beating 50% became their mantra, their mission. They positioned themselves as authorities on relationships, offering advice on everything from communication to intimacy. They were young, attractive, and deeply committed to their faith, the perfect role models for a generation of young Christians seeking a blueprint for a successful marriage. But even in the early days, there were whispers. Rumors that their on-screen and online personas were a carefully curated performance. Fans who followed them closely noticed a certain rigidity, a constant need to prove the perfection of their union. They spoke of intentionality and covenant, but to some, it felt more like a business plan than a loving partnership. Every post, every story, every product seemed to be part of a larger marketing strategy. Their life, it seemed, was for sale. In 2018, Jeremy and Audrey made a pivotal decision. They left Little People, Big World. They claimed they wanted to focus on their family and their ministry, to step away from the drama of reality television. But in retrospect, was this a strategic move to control their own narrative? To build a world where only the perfect moments were shared? As their family grew, so did the pressure. 4 children, Ember, Bode, Radley, and Mirabella, brought immense joy, but also new challenges. Audrey's online presence, in particular, became a source of both admiration and intense scrutiny. Her meticulously documented life, from her sourdough starter to her homeschooling curriculum, was both an inspiration and a source of resentment for many who felt it was an unrealistic and often judgmental portrayal of motherhood. While Audrey was building a brand around motherhood and intentional living, Jeremy seemed to be searching for something more. His projects, from photography to woodworking, were often presented as passionate pursuits, but there was a restlessness about him that was hard to ignore. The weight of being one half of a perfect couple seemed to be taking its toll. The first public cracks in their covenant began to appear in their own words, in their podcast and social media queue, and as they would allude to struggles, to heated fellowship, as they called their arguments. But these admissions were always carefully packaged, presented as teachable moments, as further proof of their commitment to beating 50%. They were normalizing struggle, but only within the safe confines of their brand. But what was happening behind the carefully curated Instagram grid? What were the arguments really about? And who was Jeremy turning to when the cameras were off? For years, a name has been whispered in the deepest corners of the internet. a name that was always quickly dismissed as a baseless rumor. Isabella Izzy Sofia Rossi. Izzy Rossi was not a stranger to the Roloff world, but she was a carefully guarded secret. A photographer and artist with a bohemian spirit, she and Jeremy had been friends for years, long before Audrey was in the picture. They had met through the Portland creative scene, a world away from the structured, faith-based community that Jeremy and Audrey would come to inhabit. Their connection was immediate and undeniable. They shared a passion for art, for adventure, for a life less ordinary. For a time, they were inseparable. But Jeremy, feeling the pull of his family's expectations and his own burgeoning faith, ultimately chose a different path. He chose Audrey. But a flame that burns that brightly is not easily extinguished. Throughout his marriage to Audrey, Jeremy maintained a secret friendship with Izzy. It began as innocent check-ins, messages of support for each other's creative endeavors. But as the pressures of his public life mounted, Jeremy found solace in his connection with Izzy. She was a reminder of a different version of himself, a self that wasn't defined by a brand or a covenant. Their friendship deepened into an emotional affair. They would meet for coffee in out-of-the-way caves, take long drives through the Oregon countryside, and talk for hours about their dreams and their frustrations. With Izzy, Jeremy didn't have to be Jeremy Roloff, the marriage expert. He could just be Jeremy. Audrey, for her part, was not oblivious. She was a smart and perceptive woman. She noticed the small changes in Jeremy's behavior, the late-night phone calls he claimed were with old friends, the unexplained absences, the emotional distance that had grown between them. But to acknowledge her suspicions would be to admit that their perfect marriage was a lie, that their entire brand was a sham. And so, she pushed her doubts aside, doubling down on her public persona of the devoted wife and mother. The breaking point came in the spring of 2024. Jeremy and Audrey had been arguing for weeks. The tension in their home was palpable. During one particularly heated fight, Audrey confronted Jeremy directly about Izzy. The dam of secrets finally broke. Jeremy, exhausted from years of living a double life, confessed everything. He told her about the secret meetings, the emotional intimacy, the love he still felt for Izzy. For Audrey, it was a betrayal beyond comprehension. It wasn't just about another woman. It was about the years of deception, the public lie they had been living. The days that followed were a blur of tears, accusations, and heartbreaking conversations. They tried counseling. They prayed. They desperately tried to salvage the wreckage of their marriage. But the trust had been shattered. The covenant was broken. In the fall of 2024, they quietly separated. For months, they managed to keep their separation a secret, a Herculean effort to protect their children and their brand. They continued to post old photos and carefully worded captions on social media, maintaining the illusion of a happy family. But a secret of this magnitude cannot be contained forever. In early 2025, the news finally broke. The divorce proceedings were initiated, and the world was left in shock. The beating 50% couple had become a statistic. As the dust settled from the bombshell of their divorce, an even more stunning revelation emerged. Jeremy Roloff was engaged, and his fiancée was none other than Isabella Izzy Rossi. For many, the speed of the engagement was a slap in the face to Audrey and the years she had dedicated to their marriage. But for those who knew the whole story, it was the inevitable conclusion to a love story that had been put on hold for far too long. Izzy Rossi is, in many ways, the antithesis of Audrey Roloff. Where Audrey is polished and preppy, Izzy is bohemian and artistic. Where Audrey's life is meticulously planned and documented, Izzy's is spontaneous and lived in the moment. She is a free spirit, a woman who has always marched to the beat of her own drum. For Jeremy, being with Izzy is a homecoming. It's a return to the person he was before the pressures of fame and public expectation shaped him into someone else. With Izzy, he is free to be messy, to be complicated, to be human. Their wedding, which is planned for the late summer of 2025, will be a stark contrast to Jeremy's first. It will be a small, intimate affair, attended only by their closest friends and family. There will be no television cameras, no brand deals, no pressure to perform. It will be a celebration of their love, pure and simple. And what of Audrey? The woman who built her life and her career on the foundation of a marriage that is now gone. The past year has been a period of profound grief and rebuilding for Audrey Roloff. She has stepped back from the relentless positivity of her brand, allowing herself to be vulnerable and honest with her followers about her pain. She has focused on her children, creating a stable and loving home for them in the midst of the storm. While the future of her beating 50% brand is uncertain, one thing is clear: Audrey Roloff is a survivor. She is a woman of immense strength and faith, and she is slowly but surely finding her footing as a single mother. Her story is no longer about a perfect marriage, but about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of heartbreak. The story of Jeremy and Audrey Roloff is a cautionary tale for our times. It's a story about the dangers of living for an audience. But in the end, the fairy tale unraveled, revealing a much more complex and human story. A story of love, loss, and the long and winding road to finding one's true self. More update. Lpbw, Jeremy Roloff puts baby's life in danger. Fans freak, but how? And Lpbw, Audrey Roloff cheated, blatantly ignored child safety regulations. And Lpbw, Audrey Roloff upset at Jeremy, announces break. I will explain everything. Lpbw, Jeremy Roloff puts baby's life in danger. Fans freak, but how? Fans of Little People, Big World have had enough of Jeremy and Audrey Roloff's what they perceive as irresponsible behavior, especially when Jeremy once again put their small child in danger. This time around, what went on, and how did the commentators feel about it? Even by Roloff family standards, Audrey and Jeremy Roloff's lifestyle choices put them farther out there than anyone else. The majority of viewers don't mind when the Little People Big World cast members engage in alternative or conspiratorial ideologies. But when these views start to influence their young children, most fans start to draw the line. Every time I look at this family, I see at least one parent putting their children in risk by, for example, not adopting enough safety measures or, worse, avoiding medical care in favor of natural therapies. Consequently, there's never a dull moment when admirers can find something to point out. Jeremy Roloff's most recent Little People Big World updates suggest that a video of him driving around with his little child in his lap is circulating. Many readers were horrified by the situation because the child is not wearing a seatbelt or a car seat. On top of everything else, viewers of Little People Big World criticized Jeremy Roloff for being distracted by his phone during the whole incident. The fact that Zach Roloff's sister Lila rode shotgun in the tractor's bucket was enough to get her in hot water. Thus, many commentators have a whole different perspective than the Roloffs, who may not find it significant because they grew up on the farm. Little People Big World viewers will find a way to criticize Jeremy and Audrey Roloff for pretty much anything. Commenters were quick to voice their opinions on the recent incident, with several going on about how Jeremy's actions put his child in danger. He is too focused staring into the camera and trying to give sexy poses, remarked one commenter not long ago. Takes me back to his wife. Holding the infant isn't the most pressing concern for most people, according to another commenter. Holding the infant and trying to video at the same time is the hardest part, in my opinion. Grrr was added by a third individual. Babies usually perish first in accidents involving golf carts, mules, utility vehicles, ATVs, etc. Little brains like theirs just can't take it. As a result, the infants will perish if they are swept away. It goes beyond foolish. Lpbw, Audrey Roloff cheated, blatantly ignored child safety regulations. Audrey Roloff, star of Little People Big World, takes a lot of heat for her parenting choices, which often involve her young children. Some people have recently accused her of cheating and completely disregarded safety rules. What did she do differently this time that made TLC viewers so mad at her? The parenting styles of Audrey and Jeremy Roloff's young children have made them frequent targets of online criticism. Both spouses are out there, and they approach parenting and other aspects of their lives in unique ways. When it seemed like one of Audrey Roloff's little children was battling with an ear infection, it irritated many Little People Big World supporters. A photo of small child playing under a red light was the next item on Instagram. Many Little People Big World viewers were outraged that she didn't take the kid to the doctor after discovering the serious consequences of ignoring the child's ear infection. Fans of TLC are never satiated when they see something like this and are quick to voice their disapproval. It appears that Audrey Roloff led her young boy to wear shoes that would make him taller so he could ride rides that demand a particular height, according to the latest Little People Big World updates. This is just one more way that Audrey and Jeremy Roloff demonstrate their independence and want to live life on their own terms. With the Air Max shoes, her kid is tall enough to ride most of the larger rides, and he loves them. But what he really wants to do is this, according to Audrey Roloff, who captioned the photo accompanied by the shoe. Because of their thick midsoles, Nike Air Max sneakers might, depending on the style, provide the wearer a noticeable height boost. The most noticeable increase, say 2 to 2.5 inches, is seen on the Air Max 97. While following their own path, Audrey and Jeremy Roloff routinely take shortcuts. But in this case, a lot of Little People Big World supporters criticized Audrey for recklessly disregarding safety rules and endangering her child. Someone recently commented, "He definitely isn't getting on adult rides because he was an employee before. Having those shoes on makes him look like he's not about to do something risky. Who requires safety rules?" said another commenter. "Regulations and rules do not apply to them," a third party remarked. Do you believe Audrey Roloff should have risked her child in this situation? Write a comment and tell us. Lpbw Audrey Roloff upset at Jeremy, announces break. Recent rumors suggest that Little People Big World stars Audrey and Jeremy Roloff are going through a difficult time. Given everything that has transpired recently, are they planning to break up? The Roloff twins, Audrey and Jeremy, have been living separate lives for quite some time. They are easy targets for online criticism because of the things they do and the things their children do, especially when seen from the outside. Many aspects of their parenting choices are subject to criticism from viewers of Little People Big World. A lot of people think the parents should be ashamed for exposing their kids to risk. It most recently erupted over Jeremy and Audrey's decision to construct a rock wall and allow their children to climb on it. Some fans of Little People Big World have recently pointed out hints that Jeremy and Audrey Roloff's utopia may be in jeopardy. While Audrey declared her intention to take a break from social media, watchers have seen that Jeremy's postings have increased. Many viewers of Little People Big World believe that Jeremy must find a method to get himself out of the doghouse. Even without a TV show, some fans saw Jeremy Roloff as a Matt Roloff 2.0, going about his projects and everything. The audience has a lot to say regarding the current Little People Big World scenario involving Jeremy and Audrey Roloff. It doesn't take much for viewers to start rooting for Jeremy and Audrey, especially given their past together. Commenters have done the same with this circumstance as well. Notice the uptick in posts by Jer. One commentator noted, following her live performance, during which she shilled a little bit more, Audrey said that she needed a break from social media. To Jeremy, "I believe this amounts to a minor screw you." Since he was adamant about defending Elon, he recently lost one of their major sponsors. Every single day, she posts endlessly, hawking all sorts of goods, but hey, at least she makes money. He meanders about the land, daydreaming about all the things he could do. Even though he's Matt 2.0, he's not filthy rich from his TV program. To me, her taking a break represents a handoff of sorts. His most recent stories have him gushing about a product, so it seems like she's had enough, and he needs to get himself together after they lost a major revenue generator. Is that so? The product he's talking about is another emblem. Another commenter chimed in. At all costs, these individuals will not work. It sounds like she's pouting based on what you shared and those things alone. A third individual remarked, by following Monday, she will have returned. Fans disgusted as Audrey Roloff publicly shames husband Jeremy, but why? Little People, Big World, a TLC series, is where Audrey and Jeremy Roloff initially gained fame. Their romance and wedding in particular became beloved parts of the show for many viewers. But Audrey has now been accused of publicly shaming Jeremy over laundry, which has brought her under criticism. Jeremy, who is married to Audrey, initially gained fame for his performance in Little People, Big World. Zach, his fraternal twin brother, and his parents, Amy and Matt, all suffered from dwarfism at the beginning of the series. The Roloff children's development, marriage, and procreation were all chronicled for viewers as the story progressed. In 2014, on Roloff Farm, Jeremy tied the knot with Audrey. Their marriage was the central focus of the 8th season finale. They went on to have 4 kids: Mirabelle May, Radley Knight, Ember Jean, and Bo James. Nevertheless, Audrey was lately the target of fan attention following the release of a video showing her publicly humiliating Jeremy as he was doing the laundry. The footage was just shared on Reddit by one of the fans. The follow-up to Step 1, Sell the Tools for Perfect Marriage Communication, is what the fan published. Step 2, Make your husband take a public shaming. Stage 3, How will I make money? An episode of South Park was referenced in this line, in which gnomes devise a muddled scheme to make money off of stolen laundry. A description in the video said, when you're 34 years old, but still haven't mastered the art of fitting sheet folding. At the same time that I was laughing, I was sobbing. I felt compelled to press start. Audrey continued the video by attempting to guide Jeremy through the process of folding the sheet. Nevertheless, a caption said, I've already lost him. After approximately 1 minute had passed, Jeremy lowered the sheet to the floor, further complicating matters. When I fold it the way I do it, this is how it totally ends up, said purportedly Jeremy's voice in one of the captions. Not knowing how to do things is not liked by anyone, it said underneath. Fans' opinions on the matter were divided when they took to the comments. While some found it funny, others felt it was inappropriate for Audrey to publicly humiliate Jeremy in this way. The fact that this was the first time the topic of folding sheets had ever arisen in their marriage even confused one of their fans. Here are a few remarks. I also don't know how to fold a fitted sheet. The union of husband and wife forms a partnership. I would never publicly embarrass him. I never intend to do anything to harm him since I adore him. She ought to act like way. Her actions on social media are a preview of how she will treat her children. Yet another remark. Those C*** had 4 children. How to fold a child's sheet is the topic of their current discussion. Definitely not the ideal marriage. They seem quite John and Kate, and we watched with delight how it turned out. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.